Hello and welcome to this history podcast. Now, today's one is going to focus on one of the questions that usually comes up quite a lot in the exam, is whether the League of Nations had any early successes. And the successes really are focused in one specific time period, and that is the 1920s. So the League start right at the beginning of the 1920s, and straight away they did have quite a few successes when it came to keeping peace and making sure that the world was a safer place. And one of the words we're going to focus on when looking at these successes is this one I'm just going to underline in black, which is Tasibo. And Tasibo stands for lots of different things, and I'm going to go through them with you now. So we're looking at successes of the League, and as you can see on the left here where I've put Tasibo down, a lot of these early successes are really focused on the first half of the 1920s. If you look at here, we've got 1920, 1921, and another 1921, 1924, and a 1925. And these others here don't have specific dates, but a lot of them did take place in the first half of the 1920s. So we have to be saying, well, why is that? Why is it that most of the successes were in the 1920s? And there's quite a simple reason for this, and is that World War I had just finished, and as we know, and I've said in previous history podcasts, it was the worst war of all time, and people really were just trying to avoid that kind of conflict and barbarism that had appeared in 4 years ever happening for again. They didn't want it to happen ever again, and so one of the reasons why the League was quite successful is, okay, they did have ways of trying to stop people, but one of the reasons was this moral persuasion that I mentioned in previous videos, and perhaps one of the main reason why they had some successes in the 1920s, especially the early 1920s, is because people really did not want to go back to war, and Europe was in a really bad state, and a lot of the time, when there was a conflict, it seemed like they were going to try and avoid it at all costs. Now, when it comes to Tasibo, the first one that comes up is the word and the place Teschen, which I'm just going to circle in blue. Teschen. And Teschen is an area that was in between the newly formed countries of Poland and Czechoslovakia, and because they were newly formed, boundaries weren't 100% on who owned what, and one of the areas was Teschen, to the south of Poland and towards the northeast of Czechoslovakia. And they argued over the area. In the end, the League arbitrated between them, and the area was split into two. So that's a success. It avoided any kind of conflict, and both countries said, right, we'll just split it between ourselves. And that's what T stands for. Now, A in Tasibo stands for Ireland Islands, and the Ireland Islands was disputed over by Sweden and Finland, who wanted them both. And the League put an investigation together and said in the end that Finland were the ones that the islands should belong to, and Sweden and Finland accepted that. They didn't go to war over it. Maybe Sweden might not have been happy about it, but they accepted the League of Nations decision. And that's what A stands for. Now, the third one, therefore, is Silesia, which is 1921. And there was a plebiscite held in the area. And a plebiscite is where the people of that specific area get to vote where they want to be, which country those people want to be in. And it was an area that was overwhelmingly taken off Germany in the Treaty of Versailles, but a plebiscite was held and the area was split between Poland and Germany. A fair split, and both countries had to remain happy with the League of Nations decision. That's S for Silesia. And the next one, therefore, is Iraq. Now, Turkey demanded Mosul, which is in Iraq, and the League supported Iraq, and Turkey accepted the decision. So another early success, and that's I for Iraq. And then here we got B, which stands for Bulgaria, when in 1925 Bulgaria was invaded by Greece, and Bulgaria did not fight back. And in the end, the League ordered Greece to withdraw, and it did, which is where this cartoon over here originates from, the Greece and Bulgaria conflict. And as you can see at the bottom, it's a British cartoon in 1925 showing Greece and Bulgaria fighting. The league is like a dove of peace, which I'm going to circle in red here. And Greece and Bulgaria are here. There's Greece, there's Bulgaria. And the league, as represented by the dove, comes swooping in and tries to break up the fight. And if you can see, the cartoonist has drawn Bulgaria and Greece like Tweedledum and Tweedledee from Alice in Wonderland. So the cartoonist is being quite sarcastic towards the attitude of Greece and Bulgaria to suggest that their conflict is stupid and is not worth much, and it just being silly about it. And as this poem says at the bottom, the dove comes in and saves the day. So just then came down a monstrous dove whose force was purely moral, which turned the heroes' hearts to love and made them drop their quarrel. So once again, the cartoonist is stressing that maybe the reason that Greece and Bulgaria stopped the conflict that had happened is because of the purely moral League of Nations. And we know a white dove represents peace, and heroes turning their hearts to love. It's all very positive and suggesting that what the League of Nations is doing is working, and because it's swaying people's opinions against war by using its moral persuasion. So that was B for Bulgaria. Now the last one is others, and I've put quite a few down here, but it's not necessary to remember all of them. But if you can remember a few, that's going to really help you. Now, a few of those is 400,000 prisoners of war were repatriated. There was Turkish refugees helped. They worked a lot against leprosy. They blacklisted a lot of drug companies. They attacked slave owners in Sierra Leone and Burma. When Austria and Hungary's economies began to fail, they gave them a huge amount of economic advice to help them out. And also the Permanent Court of International Justice was set up, which was really beneficial to sorting out disputes and arguments. And a lot of people therefore respected the League of Nations. And I think you can see by a lot of these arguments, like with Iraq, Turkey just accepted the decision. The League orders Greece to withdraw from Bulgaria, and they do. It's this whole idea that for the first few years anyway, and for a lot of the 1920s, the League of Nations was respected and was seen as a moral force and something that people needed to take seriously and listen to. Yes, there were failures, and we will be looking at them in the next podcast, but we have to be thinking that the League of Nations wasn't complete and utter failure, especially in the early years, and we can see there's many examples here of how it was successful in the 1920s.